Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be checking out Darth Vader issue 50 by Greg Pak, Raphael Ienco, Paul Fry, Luke Ross, and Adam Gorham. Greg Pak's monumentous Darth Vader series draws to an epic conclusion and is told to us over 4 chapters as Vader confronts what's left of the Imperial Schism, taking back his Zali shield and Kyber staff from the injured Sly Moore, who I love continues to try and make deals and shift her plans to ensure that she and she alone survives, telling Vader that he is still in need of her so she can help him get Luke and defeat Palpatine once and for all. Luke meanwhile is saved by the Markor, who have a brief misunderstanding with Sabe and Waba, almost killing them when they try and pick up Luke. Luke and Sabe finally get a chance to talk and the woman wants to stay behind to confront Vader, revealing but not telling Luke who she reminds Vader of, someone who would have been very proud of Luke and what he has become. Pak really kind of blueballed us here with Sabe because it looked like when obviously Sabe confronted Luke and, orchestrated that kidnapping of Waba to sort of lure him out of hiding, it looked like we'll probably be getting something between these two characters where maybe Luke learns a little bit more about his mother and maybe that informs on why he brings her up to Leia in Return of the Jedi. But as far as this issue goes, this is all we get of Luke and Sabe. I mean, we might get something in, something else in the future, but before Return of the Jedi, we don't actually get all that much, which is really, really surprising and really kind of upsetting because I did think they were building up to something where Luke learns even just like a little anecdote about his mother, because he really does know nothing about her. And I always find that very sad about Luke. He knows a lot about his father and what his father has done, but nothing ever about his mother. And I know he eventually does in the canon and everything, but it would have been a really good chance to have that here. As Luke and the others escape the planet, Sabe confronts Vader, knowing Padme was right and there is still good in him. But Vader, whose anger and hatred has returned tenfold, doesn't think that Sabe knows anything about him, and his son and Sabe weren't ready for him, and neither is the Emperor. Pak begins culling his various plotlines here as Vader returns to Tontaz's death machine, which was dropped onto the planet last issue, using the Force to manipulate the ship and feed all of its energy into him after he activates it, causing all living things in the radius of the machine to just die, its life force feeding into Vader. I really like how evil this actually is. Vader has effectively killed almost an entire planet's sentient population, and I see it as the point where the story of Vader wrestling with his allegiances, something we've been seeing quite a fair bit of through Pak's run, has finally ended. He has just cast that off basically, and he's gone fully back into the darkness now to confront the Emperor. Luke, Leia, and the Emperor sense what Vader has done, and again Pak has done time and time again. We get more of Palpatine and his just conniving, snivelly shit-talking as he goads Vader into coming for him with his new souped-up powers. Vader, now covered in the energy rods of the Death Machine, confronts the arriving Sith cult from Exegol, and this is just an excuse to let Vader kind of go all out on the red shirts as he just obliterates their stormtroopers and the cult members and the Shumo Verminoth as Palpatine continues to shit-talk him, citing how Vader has never been stronger than him and finally he can feel his enemy's fear. Palpatine's words bring back memories in Vader's mind about how he massacred the Tuskens after they killed his mother, something which was a real true turning point in Anakin towards the dark side. Palpatine suddenly turns up on the planet somehow, although it's obvious he's, kind of an illusion, and while Palps tries to goad Vader into attacking him and taking all his power, Sabe arrives to try and convince Vader to do the opposite, even calling him Anakin in a bid to get him to remember who exactly he is. Palpatine uses Sabe's own words against him, managing to convince Vader that everything he's done, from leaving his mother on Tatooine to killing Padme and Kenobi and even Alderaan, is all according to his plan, and so he should just use his hate to finally strike him down and end it all. I think it's really interesting how Palpatine's real power are his words and how he is a master manipulator. Yeah, he's got Force lightning and he can, do all these great Force feats, but it's his words and how he uses them to manipulate those around him is his real power, and it's just so cool seeing him use this against Vader as Vader's hate just flares up and allows him to quote unquote kill the Emperor in a really unique way that actually actually mirrors how Rey ends up finally killing the Emperor in Rise of Skywalker. Doing so locks Vader into the dark side completely, and Palpatine reveals his apprentice was never really ready to face him, and he was just a small fish in a big pond. And this reveal effectively breaks Vader, and he realizes that he could never have beaten his master, and he just must serve as his apprentice. The next chapter takes place sometime after Vader's return to Palpatine's service. We catch up with Ochi of Bestoon, who immediately begins shit-talking and gloating over Sly and the schism failing. But this is where Pac reveals yet another twist to Sly's story, revealing that her schism and everything she'd done was all part of Palpatine's plans to show everyone that his rule isn't chaos like they think. It's order. Order that only he could bring, since when Vader lost control of his power, he was the only one who could step in to stop it. And again, this is all just manipulative bullshit from Palpatine. Like, he manipulated all this to make it seem like Vader was out of control just so he could step in and act the hero, quote unquote. And I love it. I love that sort of stuff with Palpatine. It's just so good, so, evil and conniving. Pride is also revealed to have been helping the Emperor the entire time, and while he's still Vader's #1 fan, he in a warped way helped Palpatine because he knows helping Palpatine will ensure Vader will fulfill his destiny and learn his place, which is what he wants for his, so-called best friend. Vader also appears with the Emperor, and immediately everyone knows that he's different, and something feels different as he feels a bit more like an emotionless robot than usual. He doesn't say a word at all to anyone. Zed reveals to Ochi that Vader hasn't said anything to anyone since he actually joined the Emperor, so it's been for some time, and he is to accompany Vader as he goes through what Sly calls his exercises. This allows Pac to finally reteam Ochi with Vader and reset their relationship, as Ochi takes advantage of the seemingly comatose Vader, gloating over his new role as Vader's minder and one who's in charge. And I love Ochi as a character. Like, Greg Pak and all these guys took this character who was just like a guy who was delivering like a MacGuffin in Rise of Skywalker and given him some really fantastic characterization. And it's just like something that all these writers have done with a lot of J.J. Abrams creations from those films, because obviously Charles Soule did the same thing with the Knights of Ren as well. Made them a little bit more than just, a cool costume in the movie. Now, Ochi finally leads Vader to a desolate planet where some Suma Verminoff wait, leftovers from his big battle recently with the Sith cult. Vader fights the monsters before being told some witnesses to the battle are around, a young boy and his mother. Ochi continues to run his mouth and wants Vader to tie up any loose ends and kill the family, talking a little bit too much and revealing a little bit too much, like he knows that Vader would not kill Luke or Sabe. Vader finally thinks it's time to shut Ochi up, and he ends up attacking the assassin, who is later found by the arriving Sly to have been beaten within an inch of his life. While I love Ochi, I love that this happened to him, and it was about time. The dude was finally humbled, as he was always running his mouth around Vader and not really knowing that Vader could just do this to him at any moment. He was always had that pretend protection of the Emperor around him that didn't really exist, and I like that he's finally been given what for. Sly also reveals again that this was actually a part of her plan. Again, this is kind of getting old, but this is the last time it actually happens. But this was all part of the plan, as she wanted Ochi to sort of push Vader's buttons and kind of reawaken the hatred in him. And the assassin did exactly that. The assassin did his job very effectively, I might add, even though it effectively crippled him again. Chapter 3 picks up with Sabe, who finds the injured Ochi and realizes what Vader has truly become, but knows that there is more pressing matters to deal with. Princess Leia, meanwhile, is helping a rebel base evacuate after the Empire have suddenly found them, very suspiciously found them very quickly, and during her evacuation, she is kidnapped by Sabe, who posed as her rebel driver to get close to Leia. Leia doesn't go quietly though, attacking the woman and causing their speeder to crash, stranding them in the middle of the forest forest at the mercy of some Viper droids. Leia getting an interaction with Sabe wasn't actually on the list of things to happen in a Darth Vader book, but I'm really happy it's happening, and it alleviates some of the problems I had earlier on in the book with Sabe's interactions with Luke. She's at least being able to talk to the children of Anakin and Padme and not just relying on Luke, and I did think that Leia kind of got off on this, though we do know a little later on that Leia does have very, very strained relationship with Vader and Anakin, as seen in stuff like the Bloodlines books and some of the other canon media. Now what's interesting about this is Sabe is coming to the defense of Vader as Leia realizes who she is and that she serves Vader, citing him as the one responsible for Alderaan's death. Although Sabe is quick to tell her that, that was Tarkin's choice, not Vader, he was just there, but apples and oranges. Eventually Sabe reveals why she is truly coming for Leia, citing her as someone who is strong, very much like her mother and father, and while Sabe tried bringing peace to the galaxy by siding with the Empire, she didn't have what it takes to see it through, but Leia does, and she could join Vader and make it happen. If it's not very obvious at this point, this is a test by Sabe to see if Leia will actually do that. It's kind of the same sort of test she put Luke through to see his anger in the Force, but Leia refuses to ever stand with Vader or the Empire since she wants people to be free to rule themselves, something she believes Padme would have wanted as well. After getting the correct answer, Sabe has Leia knocked out by her droid, giving the rebellion the princess's location before leaving, finding Leia and the path she is on to be perfect. The final chapter of the book focuses on Kitster and Wald, Anakin's childhood friends who were involved with Tontaza's death machine project thanks to being slaves on her world at the time. The two friends, during the chaos of Vader battling the Sith cult in the Schism, managed to escape aboard a shuttle, citing how Vader might have actually helped them get away thanks to the backdraft his battle was creating. As the duo escape, Wald reveals that he stole a few of the energy cells from the death machine, and they end up heading back to Tatooine, selling them off to a vendor for some credits, and taking those credits to a moisture farmer who has brought up all of their friends as slave workers. Kitster gives the farmer all of the credits they have and frees the slaves and his friends, having kept his long-held promise to come back and free them. A promise that Anakin actually made to his mother and one that he did not actually end up fulfilling. And I like that we're getting sort of the happy ending to that story of Anakin coming back. Anakin never got to fulfill that, but his friends managed to do it as well. And really, technically, Anakin was still involved in them being able to escape and go free their friends, since he indirectly gave them a chance to escape in that battle back with the Schism. With everyone freed, the gathered friends are happy to be reunited, only hoping Anakin was there with them, and the group talk around a campfire about what happened to their old friend, some thinking that he became a Jedi and the Jedi were then wiped out when he was wiped out with them. We find Kitster even went looking for him, and now that's a story I would love to see, even if it's just like a one-shot story or like a 2 or 3 issue mini. That would be a really interesting thing, with him trying to find out where Anakin is and always being kind of one step behind, and then he finally falls into the service of Tontaza. This is also a really great and sad scene, especially after the last 3 chapters, where Vader was told time and time again that he is alone, no one cares for him, no one wants to help him. Yet here's a group of people who, even after not seeing Anakin for more than 30 years, are still talking about him and actually care about him and want to know what happened to him. Kitster even tells everyone that he plans on continuing his search for his old friend and will use the money he made from the power cells to help them. Their plans are put on hold when a group of mercenaries catch up to them and shoot Kitster in the shoulder, having heard from a vendor in town about what he's selling. The mercenaries take the energy cells, but before they can leave, they are all cut down by Ochi of Bestoon, who takes the cells for himself, barely uttering a word to Kitster. Ochi returns the cells to Vader on Mustafar, who interestingly wants to know about the thieves and if Ochi killed them, but the assassin reveals he didn't, having overheard them talking about someone named Anakin Skywalker, figuring Vader would want them dead, but Vader, now changed thanks to the recent events, tells Ochi that Anakin Skywalker is dead, and only Darth Vader exists. I'm really impressed with how Pack was able to put all the toys back into the box essentially. This is what Vader is like when we see him in Return of the Jedi, specifically when we see him in that scene where he's talking with Luke on the 8080 bridge, where he's telling his son that no, he cannot be saved. Anakin Skywalker is dead, long dead. However, there is still that little sliver of him, and we see that right here, which allowed him to let Kitster and Wold live, the people he knew as a child. And it also will eventually allow him to turn on the Emperor when Luke is in danger. So that's it for Darth Vader issue 50. It was an utterly satisfying finale to Greg Pak's sprawling epic. The book went to some really interesting places, not just with Vader, but with also his supporting cast like the Ochi of Bestoon and Sabe characters, taking characters we see in the background of the movies and other comics and giving them really compelling arcs. As for Pak's Vader, I thoroughly enjoyed his journey back into the dark side and how Pak pulled from Anakin Skywalker's trauma and past to properly cement him into the dark side of the Force. I think we are done with Vader books for now, being that this run and the Gillen run covered so much time that he was alive, and books are moving into the future of Star Wars, so I would love to see another run at some point, some part that wasn't covered, but I'd like to see what Greg Pak is going to do and if he's going to stick around on Star Wars, and I'd love to see him tackle some new and interesting characters within this universe. I am going to give this issue a 9 out of 10.